It's the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
As we head towards colder weather, it's important to make sure you're up to date on vaccinations and protected from COVID-19. The Native American Community Clinic is now administering the updated Pfizer bivalent booster. The updated bivalent booster helps protect against the original COVID-19 strain and against newer Omicron variants. And it will help restore protection that has decreased since previous vaccinations. People age 5 and older are now recommended to get an updated bivalent booster dose at least 2 months after their last COVID-19 shot. That means the bivalent booster may be given after a person's primary series or after their last booster shot, regardless of what brand you received before. Even if you've already had COVID-19, you should get vaccinated. Right now, at the Native American Community Clinic, you can get COVID-19 vaccines, including updated boosters, at the same visit as other vaccines. However, if you've received a recent monkeypox vaccine, you may need to wait 4 weeks before you can get a COVID-19 vaccine, and you should discuss this with your provider. Schedule your vaccination appointment with the Native American Community Clinic by calling 612-872-8086.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lulia. Patchy fog tonight with a low of 14, then a chance of snow on Saturday with a high of 33. Happy New Year from all of us at AM 950. Whether you're dining in or dining out, Eat Local Minnesota restaurants and food purveyors will make your next meal one to remember. Visit the full list of Eat Local Minnesota restaurants and food purveyors at eatlocalminnesota.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hit me cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. And we discuss local and national Native news and events. And as you know, Wendy, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
This portion of the show is brought to you by MNsure. MNsure can help you find a plan that covers your prescriptions and saves you money. Visit msure.org to get started. That's MNsure.
Nice. Hey, we got a jam-packed show. We got State Senator Mary Kunesh on, and also Wendy with her sacred animal portion, and then we have a lead off the show with Ogama with the news.
Let's hear Ogama.
Hey, Buju Anin relatives. This is Ogama Ganu Akwe. I am coming at you live from central Minnesota, and I am a member of the Red Lake Nation in northern Minnesota, and I've got some news and information for you here today. It is the second to last day of 2022, and just wanted to inform everybody that the Red Road Celebration of Sobriety New Year's Eve powwow in the Twin Cities, Minnesota is on. Saturday, December 31st, 2022. Grand entries are at 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. at the East Phillips Park Gym at 2399 17th Avenue South. Dance until midnight. Feast is at 6. Toy giveaway happening. The host drum is Hoka Hay and the MC is Jerry Dearly. Make sure if you are on the Red Road celebration for the new year that you tune in to this powwow. It's a great powwow. I know Robert and Wendy tend to try to go that one when they can. It's really great, and I'll be sad to miss it this year. Again, on the Red Road, celebration of sobriety, New Year's Eve powwow at the East Phillip Parks Gym in Minneapolis is on. Meanwhile, if you're looking for something to do at the beginning of the year, there's going to be a celebratory pop-up round dance on January 3rd, 2023 from 11:15 a.m. on at the Rotunda Capitol Building in St. Paul, Minnesota. They're going to be celebrating the swearing in of 3 Native leaders into the Minnesota State House of Representatives. The features include Opie Day and the invited singers. They're celebrating the swearing in of Representative Alicia Kozlowski, Representative Heather Keeler, and Representative Jamie Becker Finn. They will also be joined by Minnesota State Senator Mary Kunesh and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. There'll be a reception to follow in the Capitol Building Conference Room number 316. This event is hosted in collaboration with Minnesota Indian Affairs Council, the Metro Urban Indian Directors, and the Urban Indian Advisory Board. Going to be so exciting. It's so beautiful to see so many relatives tuning in to support and dance for our relatives who are going to be representing Minnesota Makoche in the Minnesota State House of Representatives as well as in the Senate. Going to be really awesome. Excited to see that come down. Another great piece of news that happened earlier this week, the Lake Manitoba First Nation chief named Cornell McLean and his wife Lisa won more than $1 million at the Shooting Star Casino in Mahnomen, Minnesota on Monday this week. He was on a trip on Monday and had put money into a dancing drums explosion slot machine at Shooting Star Casino in Mahnomen, and the drums exploded and won the big jackpot, over $1 million. McLean is the chief of the Lake Manitoba First Nation, and at first he did not realize how much he'd won. He thought he was only winning about $13,000 US, and he was just talking to a gentleman, and the gentleman told him, I think you won a little more than $13,000. And then a casino attendant came over and told him the jackpot was worth $1.37 million US, which is like amazing. So his wife Lisa wasn't there when he won, but she found out soon. And he said she was almost more excited than he was. So the money is expected to take about 10 days to arrive from Las Vegas. But him and his wife have already decided what they're going to do. They have been together for nearly 11 years and partners for the last 3 decades. And they're saving their money and they're going to buy a home with it. So exciting to see. McLean is a father of 5 and grandfather of 16 and says he didn't grow up with much, and now he has the fortune to change the lives of people who are most important in his life. McLean is the deputy chief of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, and him and his wife are also the legal guardians of 2 of their grandchildren, and a home for all of them to grow up in is going to be really huge. They are excited to offer a stable environment for them and their other grandkids. And McLean says he's humble and he always wants to give back to others. And I mean, this is just totally heartwarming. And I want to thank CBC News out of Canada for the story. But I mean, it's just great when we have our relatives who are able to win those types of just kind of lucky things, right? But then they turn around and to give back to the community is also amazing. And, congratulations for the press for Shooting Star Casino over in Mahnomen. I believe that's run by the White Earth Nation, and they'll be really, I think they do pretty well over there, but, there's no such thing as bad press. So it'll be good to see that they've got a jackpot that went out, and hopefully that brings some more people over to the Shooting Star Casino here in Minnesota. One more thing I want to touch on from the far East Coast is the Wabanaki tribes are upset with a senator from the state of Maine. The alliance that represents the Wabanaki tribes in Maine is criticizing the independent Senator Angus King because he blocked an initiative that would have allowed the tribes to benefit from future federal Indian laws. So here's how this went down. Um, Supporters had this proposal, and they said it was necessary to update the 1980 Maine Indian Claims Settlement Act, which Maine's tribal leaders have for a long time blamed for limiting their authority over things like natural resources, gaming, taxation, criminal justice, and economic opportunities. The Settlement Act excludes tribes in Maine from new federal laws unless specifically directed by Congress. And there was a proposal introduced that would have changed that provision going forward, which would allow the Wabanaki tribe to benefit from new laws that apply to the other 570 federally recognized tribes. But it did not go through. And they're really frustrated with that, as they rightfully should be. The spokesperson for the Wabanaki Alliance's specific assertion for the senator that worked against the bill issued a statement reiterating King's reluctance to support the proposal and that there's unintended consequences of that. So this is just really frustrating. I think that this isn't the first time that this has happened in Maine as well. The position of the senator on the bill also matched the position of the Democratic governor there, Janet Mills, who also blocked a sweeping tribal sovereignty bill there in the Maine legislature last spring. So feeling really grateful here in Minnesota as we have representation in our state legislature to help with those types of situations, and really wishing the best for our relatives over in Maine. Maybe it would be a good idea to take some time, if you can, to write some letters over to Mr. U.S. Senator Angus King and the governor of Maine, Janet Mills, and let them know what can be done when we have power over here in Minnesota. So I want to wish everybody a happy new year, and thank you so much for all of your time listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. Chi-miigwech to all of you. Be safe, be healthy, and we'll see you in the new year.
Hey, Pini Gigi Ogama, for those great words in the news for this past year. I want to thank everybody. And up next, we got State Senator Mary Kunesh. Wendy,
Stay with us.
we'll be right back after this short break. Oh, wow.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Health insurance that fits my budget? I'm covered. I needed health coverage I could count on and afford. MNsure helped me find a plan that works for me, and they helped me save money. Did you know that most Minnesotans qualify for savings through MNsure? And they have free experts who can help you sign up for coverage. Go to mnsure.org today and get started and get covered. That's mnsure.org. mnsure.org.
We are your relatives.
We are your relations.
Brothers,
sisters,
sons,
daughters.
And some of us are your grandchildren.
We are your community. Historically, we held places of honor and respect. Because of the impact of colonization, some of us are rejected, thrown out from family, friends, and community, set up as targets for sexual violence, sex trafficked, humiliated, tortured, and murdered. Everybody has the right to be safe. We are your relatives. Remember,
homophobia is not traditional.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Seward Co-op is now offering convenient self-serve and prepackaged hot options and salad bars at both the Franklin and Friendship stores. Breakfast items available daily until 11 a.m. and brunch served all day every Sunday. Their weekly lunch and dinner menus highlight cuisines from around the world. They offer vegan, vegetarian, and gluten-free options daily. 95% of the ingredients used are organic from small-scale, local community food producers whenever possible. More at seward.coop.
This is Leonard Peltier. I am in Coleman 1, U.S. Penitentiary, and I'm listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
Hey, Wendy, we had a great little visit today.
We did.
We saw Alice.
Our friend Alice,
yeah,
and
definitely.
her beautiful little kitty, Pepita.
Oh, yes.
So cute, yes.
Just want to give her a special shout out today because I know she'll be listening.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Alice, for a wonderful afternoon.
Hey, so it is Friday, and it's Fun Fact Friday with our sick animals, and also it's Fun Fact Friday with State Senator Mary Kunesh. Welcome, as always.
Matakiape. Hi, everyone.
Hey, so we just talked earlier this week, and matter of fact, it was a great show this Monday, so that'll be the best of all over Turtle Island. So it'll be fun to overexpose you a little bit, but it's bring in great energy and a lot of great knowledge over the past years, and I want to wish you and your family a happy New Year.
Oh, thank you, and to all of you as well. This has really evolved, in those years since 6 years has it been that from you just hanging out at the Capitol looking for a little bit of a news bite, and next thing you know, my brother and his friends down in Tennessee are listening to this and hearing our voices. So you've made a big difference in Indian country, Robert. You and Wendy and Ogama and the rest. So we owe you a great big thank you, Chi Miigwech Pinigigi Wopilatanka, to this program.
Well, and I always say too, you were the first celebrity that we got on, so I want to give you a big shout out too. When you were just a state representative of Minnesota, but wow, and brought some credibility to us. When
and she still brings us credibility every Friday.
That's right.
That's right. Well, it was. I remember being so nervous and not sure, what do I say? I came fresh out of the classroom. So talking on the radio and doing legislation was, of course, very intimidating. Even though I ran for the job, I asked for it. But you are there everywhere, Robert, with your crew whenever there's something going on around the Twin Cities or in Minnesota, and it really does help to spread the information. I mean, think back when we were doing the census, when we have campaigns, but also during COVID. This radio station was a very, very valuable resource for information. I mean, information that you can trust, information that is scientifically sound. And those are the kind of broadcasts that we need to continue to support and to build, not just in Indian country, but across the state and the nation.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And, I think about it, it's almost a dream about when we were doing the Sunday night symposiums during COVID, when COVID first hit.
Yeah. I mean, that would go on for hours. We would just be like, you'd start us off and people would just join and we'd talk, and then somebody else would leave and somebody else would join. It was fascinating, to tell you the truth. And it really did bring a lot of our communities together across the states, that I never would have spoken to a lot of those people. Right. And I got to know legislators from other states through this radio station. So, radio is not done. It's not of the past. I think more and more people are starting to listen to it and using it as their source of information.
Well, what's interesting, Mary, and that's interesting you bring that up, and I never knew this until I got into political office here in for my nation, but we found out during COVID that there's such a weak broadband spectrum in rural areas. They get their news from radio stations, and we are now in 11 of those stations in Wisconsin. So,
Wow.
I never really thought of that until got dug deep into it. Is like, yeah, they're not listening or on their computer. Their internet's terrible, but they are listening to their local radio station, and I think that's really what's really helped us grow in the last year.
Well, absolutely. In Minnesota, not only do we have these really great radio stations like this one, but there's also a state-funded radio, I don't know what you call it,
Ampers.
association called Ampers.
Yeah.
You're probably familiar with that. And
Yes,
they
yep.
support like almost, I don't know, all close to like over like 15 or 18, something like that, independent community radio stations. And those stations are all, locally managed, programmed, just like you do your own programming. And so it is really an incredible asset to Minnesota. I'm looking it up right here, right now. And it says Ampers is the largest statewide association of community radio stations in the United States, primarily serving underserved populations, including greater Minnesota, diverse communities, and students, all the way from Grand Marais, way up north by the Canadian border, and Thief River Falls, down to Mankato and Winona. And then it says that combined, the audience is about 300,000 devoted listeners.
Yeah.
So, that's getting the information out there, and it's not like it's NPR or has an affiliate. These are independently run stations, and I just think it's one of Minnesota's greatest assets to have that.
Yeah, Ampers is a non-commercial radio station. I got to tell you a quick story before we hit break. So Robert Lilligren was up north with on vacation with his family, and I had been interviewed on Lynn. Her last name's Lynn. Her and her brother have a radio show on Ampers. I think you've been on their show too, State Senator. And his sister came running outside and said, "Your name was brought up on the radio. Your name was brought up on the radio," because I was telling a story about, not being as judgmental, that Robert was kind of talking about not being judgmental towards someone. And it really gave me cause, but or pause, I should say. But I mentioned his name. So you just don't know who's listening, where and when or how. And it's just really funny.
Yeah, it's so important. We have to do something about broadband access and make sure that all of our communities, no matter where they are, have strong access to it. There's Tracy. Hi, Tracy. It was good to see you at the MMIR plate ceremony too. But not only do we want to expand radio access and information, but we are going to work really hard on putting in accessible, affordable broadband across Minnesota. And luckily enough, I sit on that committee in the Minnesota Senate. So expect some good things, I think.
Well, that's awesome too. And I know Nation to Nation, our tribe's working on that specifically because of the ARPA money that's been out and coming out. So the problem with my nation, which is Ho-Chunk Nation, is that we're not a reservation. We're like a checkerboard of the land we own. So we're going to have to partner with cities and government too in order to make broadband happen in our areas.
Well, the good thing is that a lot of the tribes are starting to create their own broadband businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're the ones that can control it and make it accessible and affordable. I'm trying to think of, there's two of them here in Minnesota. I think it's Shakopee, and then I'll have to look and see which one that other one is. It's up north. They have their own broadband or their own internet company, and I think that's probably going to be the way that we have to go when it comes to making sure that the tribes have what they need to really thrive and are able to join not only the educational realm of things, but also the economic, the kind of economic world. Yeah.
Yeah, especially where we take it for granted here. I'm working from home 80% of the time, but if I was in a rural area, and I see it too in meetings, that people that they get lost and their connection gets funky and all these weird things, and so it's a real disadvantage.
And it was really sad during the lockdown when children had to be taught, at home, that their parents had to drive them to a nearby McDonald's or a store that had a connection that they could get on their laptop and do their schoolwork.
Well, and not only that, if they couldn't leave or go somewhere else, they were using their parents' their parents' phone as a hotspot, and that's not cheap either. So there's a lot of issues to be done.
Excellent. Hey, State Senator, can you hang with us for another segment?
Sure.
Awesome. We like when she says sure. But hey, you're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we're with State Senator Mary Kunesh of the great state of Minnesota. We'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me, Wen. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
Do yourself a favor and check out the amazing cuisine of eatlocalminnesota.com. More than just a website, eatlocalminnesota.com provides you with the best local and independently owned restaurants in the Twin Cities. Specializing in Szechuan and Peking cuisine, the Great Wall Chinese restaurant has been a local favorite since 1981. They offer one of the most extensive menus in the Twin Cities. Favorites include the sesame chicken, imperial beef, and Peking duck. The Great Wall restaurant is located off 45th and France, with takeout available too. More at greatwallrestaurant.us.
The next time you're out in South Minneapolis, make Nightingale off 26th and Lyndale your go-to dining option. It's a comfortable neighborhood restaurant that features a delicious menu of American classics, plus a wide drink and cocktail selection. Nightingale has dining room and bar seating available, plus takeout and delivery. Current hours are 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. daily with the full menu until midnight. More at nightingalempls.com.
Hi, this is Laura. Listen to Food Freedom Radio every Saturday at 8 a.m. or anytime via podcast. Our individual health is connected to the health of each other and connected to the health of the earth. We know the problems with the dominant food system: climate change, deadening soils, nitrates in the water, factory farming, injustice, concentration of wealth. How do we both as individuals and as a community step up and support a living food system which honors the earth? Tune to Food Freedom Radio every Saturday at 8 a.m. and remember to support your independent farmers.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067 or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
This is New Beginnings, hosted by award-winning broadcaster and speaker Freddie Bell.
Freddie, this generation of the baby boomers, people are living longer, so the baby boomers are taking care of elderly parents.
Let's talk about your health, and specifically, let's talk about Medicare. Our show features the concerns of America's 78 million baby boomers in employment, finance, health and nutrition, and even entertainment.
Join us for New Beginnings, Saturday mornings at 11, brought to you in part by Vision Loss Resources.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lulia. Patchy fog tonight with a low of 14, then a chance of snow on Saturday with a high of 33. Happy New Year from all of us at AM 950.
Get the appliances you've been dreaming of for less at Warner Stellian's year-end clearance. Shop closeouts, scratch and dent, and floor models. Plus, buy more to save more. Take 10% off 2 red tags and 15% off 3 at Warner Stellian's year-end clearance.
This is AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Hi, Minnesota. This is David Packman, and you can catch my show weekdays at 2 p.m. for the latest in political news on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Hi, this is Representative Sharice Davids from Kansas. I'm Ho Chunk, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, thank you, Wendy. We're here with State Senator Mary Kunesh of Minnesota here, and we have a big celebration coming up here on the 3rd at the Capitol. And I looked at the poster really closely, and it said Opie, little Opie is going to be one of the singers, and that's our
intern's little brother.
Yeah.
He's 4 years old, and he was on the show.
And he just turned 5. He just turned 5. Too.
Awesome. And he sings so beautifully. It's just unbelievable.
Small town. But let's talk a little bit about that. That sounds really exciting, State Senator.
Well, the big thing, the event that you are talking about, is the opening day of our state legislature session. So January 3rd, we will have our inauguration of all of the state legislators, both in the House and the Senate. I think the governor and the lieutenant governor are getting sworn in on Monday, and then we are on Tuesday, and there's the poster. Excellent. And so for the first time in Minnesota history on opening day or ever, we will have drums and singers in the rotunda of our state capitol. And yes, featuring Opie Day and other invited singers. This is very excited. I've heard Opie sing now and participate in a number of different events, and it's really fantabulous to see a young drummer and singer moving up in the ranks. You know, as young as he is, we can only imagine what the future holds. But we'll have 3 House members inaugurated on the 3rd, and that would be Representative Jamie Becker Finn, Representative Heather Keeler, and then our newest member of the House is Alicia Kozlowski. So 3 Native women in the House, and then I also will get sworn in on that day as well. And I'm the lone Native in our Minnesota Senate on the Democrat side. There is another guy on the Republican side, but I'm the only woman, the only Democrat progressive. So I really am excited for this session. The Dems just took over the majority in the Senate, and the House held the majority in the Senate. So now we have a trifecta with the governor, the House, and the Senate, all Democrats. And we've got some pretty progressive agendas that we are going to be looking at, especially around reproductive rights, around getting the ERA, the Equal Rights Amendment, into our Constitution. We'll be looking at how we're going to put in, more stronger environmental supports and controls. I, of course, am in education. I'm the education finance chair. And so I will be looking at how we can best finance our education, our public education. A lot of people are contacting me with a lot of ideas. I'm going to have a lot of bills to read and to go through, but I'm pretty determined to address some of the issues that we've just been suffering way too long with, the disparity in special ed and our EL students. Transportation costs are just, as you can imagine, crazy, especially in rural Minnesota, where they have to bus those kids hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles, through the rural communities. And then we want to look at, providing universal meals for our students. We don't want any of our kids coming to school hungry. We know how we feel when we're hungry. Imagine a kid. So, over those 25 years as a teacher, I always kept, a stash of instant oatmeal and granola bars and, some kind of a beverage that a kid would come in ornery as could be. And you just look at them and say, are you hungry? And they're like, yeah. Well, sit down for a minute. I'm going to make you a little something. And it's amazing what a thing of instant oatmeal can do to a kid. So we want to make sure when they come in that they've got breakfast and lunch, and, we'll see how that goes. And maybe we're going to expand it to, other staff members that we know also come to work hungry. So feed the world. That's what we'll do.
Exactly. We have that $17 billion to play with. And then also, I just want to back up 1 second. We're also going to have a round dance too. So I just
yes.
want to put that out there. Bring everyone out there and come and join in this celebration.
And Robert, when you were a teacher, I remember grocery shopping, and on my grocery shopping list was peanut butter and jelly and bread, and I would bring it, and chips, and you would bring it in and have the kids eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and chips.
Because they would get angry. They would get angry, and they knew they could come in and get that. And they were always, the 30 years, they were always respectful, Wendy. They always said, can I have one? And then I go, well, make me one too. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's amazing how many kids come in hungry. And like I said, once they have something to eat or their tummy feels full, it's almost like a total personality change. And, for whatever reason, I don't want to blame them. I don't want to make their life any more difficult if it already is. So let's do that.
Well,
so there's lots to do.
Yeah, I always, I don't want to get into my career or anything, but I always was an inner city teacher, and it was always hard to compare my kids' scores with maybe the suburbs kids or the richer suburbs kids, because for the reality of it, some of those kids don't know where they're staying that night.
Yeah.
So we don't know what every student that we had at the school I taught with had a story.
Yeah.
They were, and I mean that not in a good way. They always had some sort of major struggle, and it was, school was a lot of times state senator their place to relax.
Yeah, it was a safe place, but oftentimes that was where they did oftentimes act out, where they knew if it happened at home or in other circumstances, they get a whooping or worse. And so, mental health issues and learning to like self-monitor, those will be some more of the issues that we will be working towards to address mental health issues. And hopefully it's not just for the child, but we can do it for the families. It's going to take everybody in that unit to do some work in order to make sure that they're all getting those mental health resources that they need. So there's a lot of work to be done. And yes, we have a big surplus, and maybe this will continue for a little bit, but we know it's not going to be forever. So we have to really look ahead as well and put some things in place that are going to be there for the long haul and not just a quick try to fix it sort of situation.
Exactly. And, I just have to say this, when I was young and even into the early 80s and the mid 80s, Minnesota was the beacon of great schools. People came all over the world and came to Minnesota until Plenty took over and really defunded these our schools, and we've been going downhill ever since. So, to get funding back up to the schools that really need it, or some different kind of funding mechanism, I'm excited to see you guys do that.
Yeah, there are a number of people that are looking at the best ways to fully fund our schools, not waiting on this every year, coming up with a 2% increase this year and 2%. Well, when inflation is 7% over the last 20 years, and we're doing 2%, 2%, 2%, that just doesn't make sense at all. And so, there's a lot of ideas out there. We just have to sift through them and find the one that's going to work the best.
And I'm excited that you're leading the committee because your boots on the ground, and you have experience, and that probably most of the people that are senators don't have.
This is right now in this next legislative session, out of the 2 House chairs for education and the 2 Senate chairs, 3 of us have actually been classroom teachers. So, and it hasn't been that long that we've been out of the classroom. For me, it's only been 2 years. Senator Swedzinski, maybe about 6 or 7 years. Chair Joachim in the House says she still does like substitute teaching or temporary teaching when she's not at the legislature. So, we have that, like you said, boots on the ground, the real stories to tell. I mean, you ask us any scenario, we've got it covered in experience. So, that's where we'll be drawing our decisions on. I'm going to be looking for the voice of students. On January 11th, I'm inviting students to either Zoom in or come into my committee and talk about, what their perspective is on the way things are and what we could do to make it better. And I'd like to do that throughout our session and have the voice of the students, have the voice of the teachers, have the voice of our educational assistants and paras. Those are the people that I want to hear from.
Yeah, and I'm glad you include paras, and I know you support paras big time. And I just I think a living wage for them and would be awesome.
And it's great to have the students' perspective. I
Yeah.
love
Yes.
that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, our paras and educational assistants don't get unemployment in the summertime when school shuts down. And I would like to see that happen. So we'll see what we can do around that issue too.
That's a brilliant idea, and I know you've brought that up before, but that is a brilliant idea, and I think it's so needed, how to do that. So
Well,
we got less than a minute, State Senator. What would you like to? How would you like to end this new year or this old year into the new year?
Well, I'd like to wish you all a happy new year in 2023. I'm hoping that it'll be a good year for all of us, a healthy year, one where we can build our happiness and our personal successes. And I really do look forward to continue to work with you guys, but also to build the kind of community where everyone thrives and everybody is happy and healthy. So, Chimigwich, Wopilatanka, Pinagigi, take care, everyone.
Wow, thank you so much, State Senator.
Perfect. Thank you, Mary, so much.
Yes. All right. We'll see you next year. Oh,
yeah.
Love saying that. Hey, you're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and that was State Senator Mary Kunesh. Up next, Wendy with her Sacred Animal portion.
Fun Fact Friday. Stay with us.
We'll be right back.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Health insurance that fits my budget? I'm covered. I needed health coverage I could count on and afford. Minsure helped me find a plan that works for me, and they helped me save money. Did you know that most Minnesotans qualify for savings through Minsure? And they have free experts who can help you sign up for coverage. Go to minsure.org today and get started and get covered. That's mnsure.org. mnsure.org.
You can't go through a day without hearing about healthcare reform. St. Paul Corner Drug is here to help you navigate the ever-changing healthcare landscape. We are your advocate in getting much-needed prescription medication covered under your insurance plan. Need to choose a different plan? There is no reason to feel like you are drowning in the system. St. Paul Corner Drug can make simple work out of finding you a plan that best suits your needs. You can rest assured at St. Paul Corner Drug, pharmacy the way it should be.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves. Please join Howling for Wolves on Wolf Day, Tuesday, February 7th, 2023 at the Minnesota State Capitol. You can sign up on Howling for Wolves event page. Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
Let's do that again, Robert. This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
I found the wolf. Woo!
It's awesome.
For the people watching, I just popped up an animated wolf.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I want to introduce my awesome and beautiful wife. Wendy's been an animal advocate for many years, and she really has been on this show from day one, and we're going into our 7th year, and we talk about our sacred animals. And I know by being at the state fair and seeing those thousands of people that listen to our show, that they really like your segment. So take it away, Wendy.
And I appreciate that. So everybody who listens and appreciates the sacred animal section, thank you very much. My name is Hanajihi Hani, and that means cares for them. I was given that name by my Dega Curtis. Curtis goes by Mashke Hanajinga, which means walks on white clouds. I'm a humane policy volunteer leader for the Humane Society of the United States, and I work on animal issues at the local and state level, and it's always my pleasure to do that. And I love to talk about our animals. Before we got on the air tonight, I was showing Robert a video. It was a TikTok video, and you could look it up, about these dogs getting picked up from by a bus, and they were going to doggy daycare. So you see the bus driver stopping, and like one dog is like sitting out there on the sidewalk waiting to get in, and the bus driver opens the door, and the dog kind of hops on the bus. And it's really cute because all the little other dogs on the bus are like saying hello to their little doggy friend.
Like, wow.
And then the dog will jump up on the seat of the bus, and then the bus driver comes over and like has like the harness, and clicks their harness into like a seatbelt.
Yeah.
And then they go to doggy daycare, and it's a really cute little thing. I'm sure there's many of them, but this one was bigger dogs, and it was really, really cute. So I really love that. But I am going to be talking about our canine companions today. I have an article here from NPR.
Ooh.
And it's dated December 22nd, 2022. So it's brand new. Michaeline Ducliffe, she wrote this article, and it's a really fun article. And the article title is "Can Dogs Smell Time?" And all you have to do is ask Donut the dog.
Donut the dog.
Yeah, the mystery dogged our family for decades. And this is the woman writing the article saying, How could Donut tell time? And not just the approximate time, but the exact moment before the school bus would arrive every single day. You see, Donut was my husband's dog growing up from elementary school through high school. She was a stray that came to our house when I was about 4 years old, my husband, Matt, says. She had big brown floppy ears and giant white and black spots on her flanks. She was a hound mix. Matt says, we knew this, that she was a hound mix because she liked to roam, he said. And we had to be careful not to let her get out because she would roam the neighborhood. Donut loved to sleep. And while Matt and his brother went to school, Donut slept most of their day inside, lying on the living room rug, sleeping and chewing on bones, Matt said. She would also hide the bones under the sofa cushions. But every weekday before the bus dropped off the boys, Donut would, fail. She would hop up off the rug, go to the back porch, and sit by the window. She would wait for my brother and me to walk home so she could greet us at the door, Matt says. She was always punctual, never early and never late. Every winter holiday, Matt's family would tell me this fascinating story. And each year I would tell myself I'm going to figure out how Donut does this and write up a story for NPR. But alas, each year I get too busy and not have time. But not this year. This month I made time to solve the mystery of Donut's time skills. And the wait has been worth it because, folks, guess what Donut likely can do? She can smell time, says psychologist Alexandra Horowitz, who studies dog cognition at Columbia University and Barnard College. I'm not surprised at all that Donut would be able to predict the arrival of the school bus, says Horowitz. Dogs, like people, use many environmental clues to estimate the time during the day, she says. They listen to their body's psychological signs, such as a growling rumble in their tummies, hint of drowsiness, or a growing need to, go outside. Just like humans, they have fluctuating hormones that help create a built-in clock in their bodies and minds. They also look at the amount of light shining into the room or even an angle of the sun. Both dogs and humans notice. Oh, it gets a little bit dark in the room, Horowitz says. But Donut, she says, likely has another trick up her furry leg that we humans don't use to tell time, or at least we don't realize we use. That's olfaction. Horowitz says dogs are living in basically an olfactory world, and I think they are able to track time with smells. When I first heard this theory, I was a bit incredulous. How do you smell something intangible like time? But then Horowitz explained it to me, and I began to realize that maybe I smell time too, and maybe dogs understand physics in a way that we don't. Smelling time for Donut, Horowitz says, likely began at Matt's own unique bouquet of scents. Humans stink. Even the very clean among us, she says, dogs can recognize their owners by their smell alone. Not only do we stink, we also leave our stinky signature everywhere we go. We're always sloughing skin cells and leaving behind little trails of odor, she says. For example, you could smell if someone's been in the elevator before you if they were wearing a strong cologne. So imagine back in the 1980s when Matt and his brother were in elementary school getting ready in the morning. The two boys filled their home with all sorts of smells. The funk of their baseball uniforms and the stink of their dirty socks and scent of their shampoo. As Matt and his brother rushed out of the door to catch the bus in the morning, their living room would stink to high heaven with the signature scent of these two boys. As Donut sauntered over the rug for her morning nap, she would literally be swimming in Matt's odor molecules, but over time, the scents in the house changed. The odors would deteriorate and the smell gets less strong, Horowitz says. Given Donut's massive nose and her brain that's incredibly tuned to concentrations of odors, Horowitz says there is no question Donut noticed the slow diminishment of Matt's scent over the course of the day. Absolutely, Horowitz says. And we know that dogs are especially attuned to the odors of their person. In fact, Donut didn't simply notice the shift in smell, Horowitz said. She likely used it to predict the future, to predict when the school bus would arrive. Every school day, Matt and his brother would be away from their home for approximately the same amount of time. And right before the school bus arrived, their smell in the house would drop to about the same level. Donut probably learned to associate that level of odor with the imminent return of Matt and his brother, Horowitz thinks. So how amazing is that? This study also is just, it's not scientifically tested, but if you see your dog, I know my dog always barked when the church bells went off, and that's what our dog associated getting a meal from. So, yeah, so it's interesting.
Hey, I want to wish you a happy new year, everyone out there. Live long and prosper. I don't think that's a native thing. I think that's a Star Trek thing, but I do want to say that, Wendy, we're looking forward to a good, productive year and healthy.
Yes,
Healthy.
2023. Absolutely.
We need to resist, divest, join a group, and run for office. You've been listening to Native Roots Radio.
Free Leonard Peltier.
Now.
Tis the season to be jolly, and nothing makes me jollier than a clean home. If you just had Thanksgiving at home,